think that's gonna work?
1 in a million chance, but I gotta take it.
That warm, golden feeling you get the moment you hear that piano intro. Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. You know it. You've probably hummed it in the shower, maybe even sung it a little too loudly in the car. Cheers wasn't just a TV show. It was a place, a feeling, a full 10 seconds of believing that somewhere out there really was a bar where everybody knew your name. But here's the thing nobody tells you. The night Cheers debuted on September 30th, 1982, it was ranked dead last in the Nielsen ratings. Last, out of 77 shows on American television, Cheers sat at number 77, the very bottom. NBC executives were nervous, critics were quiet, and most of America had changed the channel before the end of the first episode. That show, the one that was one bad decision away from being cancelled before Christmas, went on to win 111 Emmy Awards, run for 11 seasons, and pull in over 93 million viewers for its finale. More than the Super Bowl. Now, I need you to think about that for a second. Because today, we're pulling back the curtain on 8 things you almost certainly didn't know about Cheers. And I promise you, a few of these are going to completely change the way you watch those reruns. Some of these stories are shocking, some are heartbreaking, and at least one of them is going to make you look at your absolute favourite character and say, wait, what? Let's get into it. Number 8. The lowest rated debut in NBC history, the show that almost died before it started. Picture this. It's the autumn of 1982. Dynasty is on ABC and absolutely dominating. Dallas has the whole country asking who shot JR. And then over on NBC, a little show about a Boston bar and a washed-up baseball player quietly premieres on a Thursday night. Nobody watched. Well, almost nobody. Cheers finished its very first week ranked 77th out of 77 shows on American television. Think of that like finishing last in a race where 77 people showed up. That's not just losing, that's tripping over the starting line and face planting in front of the entire crowd. To put it simply, the ratings were catastrophic. Ratings, by the way, are how networks measure how many people are watching. Low ratings usually mean one thing: cancellation. And the knives were out. Reports from inside NBC described genuine panic. Advertisers, the companies that pay to show commercials during a show, were nervous. Executives were already having quiet conversations about pulling the plug. But here's where the story gets interesting. Brandon Tartikoff, the head of NBC's entertainment division, watched the pilot and did something almost unheard of in the television business. He believed in it anyway. He reportedly told his team, "This show is going to work. The American public is just going to take a little while to find it." That's not just confidence. That's either genius or madness. And in Hollywood, the line between the two is very, very thin. NBC renewed Cheers for a second season despite the dreadful ratings. And slowly, quietly, word of mouth, meaning people telling their friends, hey, you have to watch this thing, started to build an audience.
Now, Sam says I can't serve you anymore. You're a flim flam.
Oh, no, it ain't for me. I'm expecting a friend.
By season 3, Cheers was a top 5 show. By season 5, it was the #1 show on American television. The lesson? The greatest bar in television history almost never opened its doors, and we almost lost it to a panic meeting in a network boardroom. Number 7, the bar is real, and you can still drink there. Now, here's something that is going to make your inner TV nerd very, very happy. The bar you spent 11 seasons sitting in, it's based on a real place. The Bull and Finch Pub, located at 84 Beacon Street in Boston, Massachusetts, served as the primary visual inspiration for the look and feel of Cheers. The show's creators, Glenn and Les Charles, along with director James Burrows, visited Boston before production began to find something that felt authentic, lived in, local, the kind of place where you walk in and immediately feel like you've been there 100 times before. They walked into the Bull and Finch, sat down, looked around at the wooden bar, the low lighting, the brick walls, the little tables tucked into corners, and that was it. They had their bar. Now, the interior of the actual Cheers set was built in a Hollywood studio, so the inside of what you see on screen isn't a perfect replica. But the exterior shots, every time you see that famous establishing shot of the steps going down into the bar, that's the real Bull and Finch in Boston. Here's the twist that makes this even better. After Cheers became a cultural phenomenon, which means it became a massive part of popular culture that everyone recognised the Bull and Finch pub was literally renamed Cheers Beacon Hill to capitalise on the show's fame, people were flying in from all over the world just to have a drink in the bar that inspired the bar. There's now a second location near Faneuil Hall in Boston, and both spots still serve tourists and fans to this day. So if you ever find yourself in Boston, you can genuinely walk down those steps, sit at that bar, and order a beer in the place that started it all.
Walk around and soak up some atmosphere.
Some people go to Paris for the Eiffel Tower. True fans go to Boston for a bar stool. Number 6, where everybody knows your name, the story nobody tells. You already know the song, you're probably humming it right now, and you're slightly annoyed at me for that. But you know what almost replaced it? When Cheers was in production, the network went through several different options for the theme song. The brief, which basically means the set of instructions, was simple. Write something warm, nostalgic, and welcoming. Something that felt like coming home. Gary Portnow and Judy Hart-Angelo were brought in to write it, and what they handed in was a gentle, melancholic ballad about escaping the noise of the world and finding a place where you belong. The original demo was slower, quieter, and almost a little sad. When producers heard it, there was some debate. Some people felt it was too downbeat for a comedy. But here's what made the difference. The lyrics were undeniably perfect. You want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. That line isn't just a song lyric, it's a human need. It speaks directly to one of the most fundamental, which means most basic and deeply rooted desires people have. To be known, to be welcomed, to belong somewhere. The producers pushed through any doubts, kept the song, and had it recorded by Gary Portnow himself, with a slightly more upbeat arrangement than the original demo. It went on to win the Emmy for Outstanding Original Music and Lyrics, not once, but multiple times across the show's run. And decades later, it's still one of the most recognisable TV theme songs ever written. There is also a little-known trivia gem hiding in that theme. The show's opening sequence features photos of real 19th century bar patrons, real people, real photographs, which means for 11 years, millions of viewers were looking at actual historical strangers while humming along, completely unaware.
Christy Leveroni.
Christy Leveroni, come on down!
If that doesn't make the show feel slightly more haunted and wonderful at the same time, I don't know what will. Number 5, the heartbreak behind Coach's disappearance. This one is where the show gets deeply human, so stay with me. If you watched the early seasons of Cheers, you know Coach. Ernie Coach Pantuso, played by the irreplaceable Nicholas Colasanto, was the lovably confused, soft-hearted bartender who was equal parts sweet, slow-witted, and genuinely warm. He was the kind of guy you wanted as a grandfather, an uncle, or at minimum your local barman. Coach wasn't just a character, he was the emotional heart of the early show. Nicholas Colasanto had been a successful television director before landing the role of Coach. He was in his mid-60s when Cheers began, which, for context, means he was somewhere between wise old sage and absolutely does not understand what a VHS tape is. But what he brought to that role was lived-in, genuine warmth that no one could manufacture. Here's the heartbreaking part. During the production of Season 3, Colasanto's health began to decline seriously. He was suffering from heart disease, and those closest to him on set could see he was struggling. The cast and crew reportedly went to great lengths to accommodate him, adjusting his lines, shortening his scenes, making sure he wasn't overtaxed on set. Ted Danson and the rest of the cast were fiercely protective of him. Nicholas Colasanto passed away on February 12th, 1985, between the filming of Season 3 and the planned start of Season 4. He was 61 years old. The producers made a decision that was both tasteful and genuinely moving. They didn't recast the role. They simply wrote Coach out quietly, with the acknowledgement that the character had passed away off screen. And in the Season 4 premiere, a new character, Woody Boyd, played by Woody Harrelson, arrived from Indiana to take a job at the bar, sent there by Coach himself in a letter written before his death. Woody's first scene was his audition. He walked in, opened his mouth, and was absolutely perfect. They hired him on the spot. But the tribute that made viewers genuinely emotional was this. Colasanto had kept a photo of Geronimo, the famous Apache leader, on his dressing room wall throughout the entire production. After his death, the cast had that photo mounted on the wall of the Cheers set, where it remained for the rest of the show's run. Visible in the background, a quiet, permanent goodbye to a man who made the bar feel real. You know, this channel exists because of stories exactly like that one, the ones they don't put in the DVD special features. If you're new here and you love classic TV the way I do, genuinely love it, the way you love an old friend, hit that subscribe button right now. Because every single week, we dig into the shows, the stars, and the stories that made television mean something. And if the Coach story just hits you right in the chest a little bit, drop a rip Coach in the comments below. Let's show some love for Nicholas Colasanto. He deserves it. Number 4, Kelsey Grammer was fighting battles nobody knew about. Let's talk about Frasier Crane for a moment. When Dr. Frasier Crane walked into Cheers in season 3 as a recurring guest character, meaning he wasn't originally a main cast member, nobody planned for him to stay. He was supposed to be a short-term love interest for Diane Chambers. A few episodes, maybe a season. That was the plan. The plan changed because Kelsey Grammer was magnetic, meaning he had an almost irresistible on-screen presence that audiences responded to immediately. Frasier became a series regular. He lasted not just the rest of Cheers, but went on to anchor his own spin-off, Frasier, which ran for 11 more seasons. 1 character, 2 shows, 22 years. But here is the part of the Kelsey Grammer story that most people have never heard in full. Behind the polished, pinstriped, wine-sipping psychiatrist on screen, Kelsey Grammer was living through a series of personal tragedies that would have broken most people. His father was murdered when Grammer was a teenager. His younger sister, Karen, was abducted and killed in 1975. 2 of his half-brothers died in a scuba diving accident shortly after. During the Cheers years specifically, Grammer was battling serious substance abuse, meaning addiction to alcohol and cocaine, that at times made him unreliable on set. There were missed calls, production delays, and moments where the cast and crew genuinely didn't know if he was going to show up. In 1988, he was arrested for drunk driving. In 1990, he entered rehabilitation, which is a program designed to help people overcome addiction for the first time. It was not the last time. And yet, and this is the part that floors me through, all of that chaos, all of that darkness, he never stopped being extraordinary in that role. Every take, every line reading, every beautifully snobbish Frasier Crane moment came from a man who was privately carrying an almost unimaginable weight. Frasier Crane was sophisticated, stable, and composed. Kelsey Grammer at times was none of those things, and somehow he made it work every single time. That is the definition of a professional, or possibly a miracle. Probably both. Number 3, why Shelley Long really left and what it cost everyone. All right, this is the one people always argue about. Grab your drink, we're going here. Shelley Long played Diane Chambers, the intellectual, idealistic, slightly insufferable waitress who was the romantic foil to Sam Malone for the first 5 seasons of Cheers, and she was brilliant. Her chemistry with Ted Danson was electric. The Sam and Diane will they, won they dynamic, meaning the audience constantly wondering whether 2 characters will finally get together, was some of the best written romantic tension in television history. And then she left. Voluntarily, at the height of the show's success. The official reason given at the time was creative fulfillment, meaning she wanted to pursue a film career and felt she had taken Diane Chambers as far as she could. And to some extent, that's true. She had started receiving film offers and wanted to explore them. But behind the scenes, it was far more complicated. Multiple sources, including cast and crew interviews given years after the show ended, paint a picture of serious tension on set. Shelley Long was, by many accounts, meticulous and demanding about her craft. She asked detailed questions about her character's motivation. She pushed back on storylines she didn't agree with. She was known to request additional takes when she felt a scene wasn't right. To some, that made her a committed artist. To others, it made filming an exhausting process. The atmosphere on set between Long and certain cast members, and reportedly between her and producers, had become genuinely strained by season 4 and 5. When she announced her departure, some on set were relieved. That is a brutal sentence to write about someone who gave one of the great sitcom performances of the 1980s. But honesty matters here. The aftermath? Her film career did not go the way she'd hoped. Movies like Troop, Beverly Hills had their fans, but she never became the film star she envisioned. Meanwhile, Cheers brought in Kirstie Alley as Rebecca Howe, and the show exploded in popularity even further. Kirstie Alley for the record, got the role by going into her audition and immediately announcing that she was going to be the best thing that ever happened to the show. The producers, who were terrified about replacing Shelley Long, laughed so hard they practically hired her on the spot. The great irony? The episodes where Sam and Diane's relationship unraveled and she walked out of his life forever were some of the most watched episodes of the entire series. Their fake goodbye was real enough to make millions of people cry. If that isn't a testament to two performers at the absolute peak of their powers, I honestly don't know what is. Number 2, the night 93 million people said goodbye, the fine hour that stopped America. On May 20th, 1993 at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Cheers broadcast its series finale. It was titled One for the Road, and what followed was one of the most extraordinary communal, which means shared by a massive group of people, all at once television moments in American history. 93.5 million people watched. To understand how staggering that number is, consider this. The Super Bowl that year was watched by approximately 90 million people. The final episode of Cheers outdrew the Super Bowl. Bars across Boston and across America held viewing parties. The city of Boston reportedly saw a measurable spike in water usage during commercial breaks because so many people were rushing to the bathroom during the ads rather than miss a single second of the show. There's a specific moment in that finale that I need you to know about because it is one of the most quietly perfect endings in television history. After the farewell party winds down and the last patron leaves the bar, Sam Malone is alone. He straightens a crooked picture frame on the wall, a small, ordinary gesture. He looks around the bar one final time, then he walks to the back, switches off the lights, and the door closes. That's it. No grand speech, no dramatic music swell, no final joke, just a man turning off the lights in the place he loves. Ted Danson reportedly could barely get through that scene without breaking down. The studio audience, the people watching live on the night of filming, was reportedly weeping openly. Crew members who had spent 11 years on that set were crying behind the cameras. And the very last line of the show, as Sam walks to the back, a knock comes at the front door. He opens it slightly, looks through and says, "Sorry, we're closed." 11 years, 275 episodes, 111 Emmy nominations. And it ended with 2 words. If that doesn't hit you somewhere deep down, check your pulse. Seriously, check it. You know what I love most about making videos like this one? It's you, the people in the comments who grew up with these shows, who watched Cheers with their parents or their grandparents or alone on a Friday night when the week had been too long. This is a community built on the love of classic television, and every comment you leave, every like you drop, every subscriber who joins it keeps this thing alive. If you want to see more deep dives like this one, the stories behind the shows, the real drama behind the smiles, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps more than you know. And comment below, what's your single favourite Cheers moment? I read every single one. Number 1, Sam Malone was almost played by someone completely different and the original concept would have changed everything. We've made it to number 1. And this is the one that genuinely rewires the whole story. Before Ted Danson was Sam Malone, before that grin and that perfect hair and that magnificent ability to lean against a bar like he was born there, the role almost went to someone else entirely. Multiple sources from the development period of the show indicate that several actors were considered or informally discussed for the lead role during the casting process. The character, at various early stages of development, was conceived slightly differently, less the charming, womanizing ex-athlete and more a harder-edged, blue-collar Boston type. Ted Danson walked into his audition and, by all accounts, simply became Sam Malone. Casting directors and producers in the room reportedly knew within minutes that the search was over. He had warmth, comedic timing, which means the ability to land a joke at exactly the right moment, and a very specific kind of leading man charm that felt completely effortless. But here is the thing most people have never considered. Ted Danson almost quit the show after the first season. When the ratings came in and Cheers sat at the very bottom of every Nielsen chart, when reviewers were lukewarm and NBC executives were nervous, Danson reportedly had serious doubts about whether the show would survive, whether it was the right career move. He was a working actor who needed the work to actually work. It was the creative team, Glenn and Les Charles, and director James Burrows, who convinced him to stay, to trust the material, and to believe that the audience would find them. Just give it time, they told him. He stayed. And in staying, he didn't just save his own career. He saved one of the greatest ensemble casts ever assembled. Without Sam Malone holding the centre, there is no Diane Chambers, no Coach, no Cliff, no Norm, no Frasier, no Rebecca, no Carla. The whole magnificent ecosystem of that bar falls apart without the man standing behind it. Here's the final thing I want you to sit with. Sam Malone was a recovering alcoholic who ran a bar. He surrounded himself every single day with the one thing he was supposed to stay away from. He served it to other people. He laughed and joked and charmed his way through 11 years of that particular quiet torture. The writers never made that a punchline. It was always there. Underneath the charm and the jokes and the beautiful women, this man living one day at a time inside the very place most likely to undo him. Cheers was funny. It was brilliantly, consistently funny. But it was also, quietly, one of the most honest shows American television ever produced. It understood that people are complicated, that workplaces are families, that a bar can be a home, and that sometimes the most broken people are the ones holding everybody else together. So here's where we've ended up. We've talked about a show that debuted in last place and ended as a legend. A bar inspired by a real Boston pub that you can still walk into today. A theme song that almost got replaced, written by two people who accidentally captured one of the most universal human feelings ever put to music. A beloved character whose real-life loss left a permanent mark on a Hollywood soundstage. A troubled genius who kept showing up in a three-piece suit no matter what was falling apart at home. A departure that shook the show to its foundations and somehow made it stronger. A finale that 93 million people watched in tears. And a leading man who almost walked away before any of it began. What does that add up to? The greatest television shows are never really about television. They're about people. About the mess and the beauty and the heartbreak of being human and choosing every single day to show up for each other anyway. Cheers ran for 11 years. It won more Emmys than any other comedy in history at the time. But none of that is what people actually remember. What they remember is the warmth, the feeling of belonging somewhere, of walking through a door and having someone look up and know your name. And here's what gets me every time I think about it. That feeling, the one the show created, was built by real people with real problems, real fights, real heartbreaks, and real doubts. They manufactured warmth out of conflict. They built a home out of tension, and they made millions of people feel less alone every week for 11 years. The miracle isn't that the show almost got cancelled, or that cast members clashed, or that the ratings nearly killed it in its first week. The miracle is that despite all of it times, every Thursday night, the lights came on, the piano played, and for 30 minutes, everybody knew your name. That's Cheers. And honestly, we were lucky to have it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this one, the next video is already waiting for you, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. See you there.